Woke Up in Japan, an original piece of music which has had more than 20 million streams across all platforms and was composed by this week's Paris-born guest. 24-year-old Friqtao is a dynamic pianist and composer, known for his spontaneous performances in busy train stations and public spaces. He struck a chord with more than 3.5 million TikTok followers by morphing classical techniques with pop and hip-hop, turning piano renditions into viral sensations. Wearing his signature beanie and his headphones perched on top, Friqtao is also breaking the mold for what we might imagine a typical pianist would look and sound like. He's putting instrumental music on Gen Z's radar, showing just how cool it can be. I saw Friqtao perform at the opening of the Zeta Bloomsbury Hotel in London and was blown away by his talent, enchanted by his own music and taken aback by his style. And after a chance conversation that night, he's here all the way from Paris in our Convet studio in Notting Hill. Friqtao, thank you so much for coming over, and bonjour.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for that lovely introduction.
Who'd have thought, hey, that we met that night, I watched you play, and that a few weeks later we'd be sitting in the studio and you'd have just sat down in our music studio and played some ABBA and Michael Jackson to me.
That was the first thing I did, actually. It was great to perform at that hotel opening too, and thank you for listening.
Oh, it was an absolute pleasure. Your name's unusual, Friqtao. What does it mean?
Well, I get asked that all the time because people think that it's my actual name. So I came up with it when I was at school, actually, in the middle of a science lesson. I must have been around 14 or 15. And it was at the time when people started on social media and came up with their handles and the names that they were going to use. I was really meant to be listening to the biology lesson, but I was thinking about what name I could use for my Instagram account. And then I came up with this name because it stems from the origins of my parents. So my mum is from Denmark and my dad is from Vietnam. That's where they were both born. And so the beginning of my name, which is F-R-I, is also the beginning of the word freedom in Danish, which is frihed. And then the Q in the middle is my name. And then the end of my name, which is Tao, T-A-O, is the end of the word creativity in Vietnamese, which is where my dad's from. So it kind of means freedom and creativity through the both origins of my parents.
And how old were you when you dreamt that up?
15.
Wow,
14,
that's
15
amazing.
when I was at school. I've stuck with it ever since.
It feels that you realised at that pretty young age who you were, because looking at what you do and how you travel all over the world and you're playing, the creativity is obvious, but you feel to me as an onlooker like you're free as a bird and you're making your way through life doing something really beautiful and something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I started playing the piano because my father used to play at home and always dreamt of doing it as a career. But getting into music professionally is quite a hard thing to do. Usually people have a side gig or a side job. But yeah, just being able to do it full time is so freeing. My way of giving a part of me to the world is through music. So I get an immense sense of peace by creating it, but also by sharing it, which is why I think I started posting videos online and sharing videos, because it just feels so natural to me to share music. I feel like it's probably one of the oldest forms of communication that we've had as animals. We used to sing in caves and around fires and things. So I feel like when I'm creating music, I always want to share it with people.
And you do really share it with people. And I'm thinking of the train stations that you play in. When I'm ever anywhere like King's Cross and I walk past a piano, I just wish I could sit down and play. I've got grade 6 in piano, but I can't play anything without music. And I can only play the first 2 pages of everything because then I've given up after that. But you're sharing your music with the public. How did that first come about? Because I think you started doing that in Paris, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So at the time, I was studying at the University of Bristol. I was studying art history with French. And it was my third year of uni on a 4-year course. When you take a foreign language, when you're studying in the UK, you take a year abroad. So in my third year, I had my year abroad in Paris. So it wasn't really a year abroad for me. It was more like a year at home because that's where I'm from.
That's where you're from, isn't it?
And you have a choice. Either you study or you work on your year abroad. And I chose to work. So I was actually working as a primary school teacher. And to get to my work, I went by the 2 main train stations in Paris. So I had to travel through Gare Montparnasse and Gare du Nord, which is where the Eurostar goes from Paris to London. And on my commute to work every day, there would be public pianos there at the train stations. And I would always be playing them on my way to work. And people started coming up to me after I finished playing and they were like, oh, do you have any videos on Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or anything? And my answer was always no, because at the time I didn't have any platforms. At that time, I hadn't started sharing my videos. And then one day I thought to myself, well, why don't I just download TikTok or Instagram and I just record myself and I upload it. It takes like 2 minutes or not even that. I just click a button and then I just post it. And one day I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I recorded my first video and then my third or fourth video just blew up. It got like 35 million views on TikTok. And from that video, I gained around like 35,000 followers on the platform. So a week prior to that, I didn't have the app. And then a week later, I have all of these people expecting more videos and new content. So I was thrown into the deep end out of nowhere and I stayed consistent. And more or less since that day, I've just been recording videos almost weekly.
Can you remember what you were playing on that one that really went viral and was the start?
Yeah, it was actually a cover of a Harry Styles song called As It Was. In 2022, that was like the biggest song that year. I was listening to it on the radio on the way to work on my headphones. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to learn this and then play it. Because I have this thing called relative pitch where I can hear a song and I can replicate it without needing the sheet music
or anything like that.
And so, yeah, I was playing that song, I recorded it and posted it and it just went crazy.
That's incredible. And do you modify it a bit when you're playing something like that? Is it your version
of
that
because
track?
I'm learning it by ear, I'm adding my own twist to it because I'm not following the score or anything. So I have the liberty to play it my own way.
Which is probably what people really love. What does it feel like when you sit down at a piano and a crowd gathers and you just realise how much people enjoy what you're doing? What does it feel like for you to be able to do that and entertain in such an incredible way?
Yeah, it obviously filled me with a lot of happiness. In those spaces, especially the train stations and all those public spaces, people tend to be in a rush. They have places to be, tends to be a place of transit. You don't really hang out in a train station. It's more of a place where you get from A to B. So when people take the time to stop and appreciate the music that I'm playing and feel like they're really getting captivated, it fills me with a lot of happiness. I don't really care if people stop or not, because at the end of the day, I'm playing it because I love playing. I'd be playing regardless. So if no one was to stop and it was just me in my own little bubble, I would feel the same, whether or not people stop or not. Deep down, I don't really care, because that's not what I'm doing it for. But people always stop, so I must be doing something right. But I think that's probably why they stop too, because they see someone who's lost in something that they love doing. And so I think it also fills people with a lot of curiosity too.
I think also what fills people with curiosity is your style. You've got a fantastic style. And I'm just thinking back to the Zeta event. It was an achingly cool event full of fashion influencers, and you looked every bit like a fashion influencer to me. And you could have blown me away when I watched you sit down very calmly and gently at the piano, no music, and just played. And also it was music I wasn't really expecting. There's a real gentleness and meditative quality, I think, which is what really drew you to me and wanted you to come on the podcast, because you don't look, not that a piano player has a look, but some of the stuff you play, you just wouldn't expect you to play.
Yeah, I also think that that's probably why the content that I was making was resonating with so many people, especially from my generation, because I'm 24, and I suppose a lot of the people that are on TikTok and Instagram tend to be people from my generation. And I dress a lot in streetwear, and I always wear my beanie and my headphones when I'm playing, and playing covers of songs that you wouldn't expect to hear on the piano, like hip hop artists or from Kanye West to even Michael Jackson. You don't really tend to hear that on the piano just by itself. And I think people resonated with that because maybe they saw a little bit of themselves in me, and it's unusual. You tend to associate piano with very formal concert venues, people turning up in tuxedos and sitting neatly in rows and listening to classical music, because that's what it tends to be associated with. But I think I'm trying to bridge that gap between my generation and instrumental music, and just appreciating instruments as they are, because I feel like a lot of the music that's being produced nowadays is very heavily produced, a lot of different things going on, technology involved with everything that we do nowadays. I feel like, not that it's linked to it, but also with the rise of AI and all of this, I think people are going to crave live music, because it's going to end up being one of the things that we're sure is just 100% human.
I think people already are wanting to crave authenticity. It's just so simple to watch you just sit down and play, and the sounds that you produce are incredible. Do you hope that maybe you'll inspire kids who are like, my daughter's 22, also went to Bristol University around the same time, probably just after you. But she sits down, and she didn't do grades when she was learning. She just sits down and plays chords and sings. So she's probably quite unusual in that for 22. But do you hope that through listening to the instrumental stuff that you're exposing, I suppose, Gen Z to on TikTok, that more people will think about, wow, actually, this is great. I'd like to do some, or I'd like to learn, or I'd like to get involved? Because I think we've forgotten the beauty of instrumental, really.
Yeah, I was talking to my mother about this the other day. And I think that is the main reason why I've rarely lost motivation for what I do. The impact that it might have on people, and the amounts of messages that I receive every day, people of all ages. It's not even people from my generation. It tends to be people that are older than me will message me and go, I watched one of your videos and it made me regain my passion or refine my passion for music or piano or whatever it may be. I think ultimately that's why I do what I do, is to hopefully inspire somebody to create something and to find their spark in life. Because ultimately, I think we all have a spark in ourselves. But sometimes, not that people don't think about it, but I don't think everybody thinks about finding their spark in society because of the system that we have. We have to survive and earn money, and it can be hard to have time, I suppose, to find what actually fuels your heart. But I think it's important for all of us to dig deep within ourselves and figure out what we want to do. And if my content and me showing up and playing the piano can inspire someone, I think that's all I can really wish for.
We opened on Woke Up in Japan, which you also played the first time I saw you perform. Your own compositions, I imagine, have stories behind them. Tell us a bit about Woke Up in Japan.
Yeah, they do, actually. And Woke Up in Japan is a really important song for me. I've been fascinated by Japanese culture ever since I'm a kid. I used to collect Pokemon cards when I was growing up, and some of the first music that really had an impact on me and some of the first visuals that had an impact on me were the Studio Ghibli films. It's this collection of short films that are all hand animated, and just the world that they're set in is so magical. And when I was watching those films growing up, I got lost in those worlds. And whenever I was watching them, I could really, truly feel myself be in those spaces. When I was writing Woke Up in Japan, I had never been to Japan before. So I wanted to write a song from my perspective and understanding of Japan and my idea of Japan about what it might feel like to wake up there one day. So I wrote the song, which was heavily influenced by the soundtracks from those movies. But also, yeah, just of my idea of that country. it's funny, I get a lot of my Japanese followers that message me and they go, when I listen to your song, when I'm away from home, I feel like I'm back home. And that to me is so crazy.
That's crazy. I hope you've been now to Japan, have you?
I have, yes.
And did it live up to expectation?
It did. And it was so crazy because the first thing I did, the first morning I woke up, was listen to Woke Up in Japan when I woke up in Japan. And it was one of the most surreal moments in my life that I think I will remember forever. I felt very stimulated. Everything that I was seeing, whether that was a granddad opening the windows of his house in the morning or a bin man doing the bins or whatever it was, I felt like I was in a Ghibli film. Every single street that I would turn, every person that I saw, I felt like I was inside of a Ghibli movie. So it felt very surreal.
For you, what is the composing technique like? And do you actually read music? Because you were talking about playing by ear earlier. Do you write the music when you're composing, or is that all by ear too?
It's all by ear, actually. And I don't really have a formula or strategy when I write songs. Whenever I get an inspiration from something, and it can generally be anything in the world, I've written a song that was just based on my mum's cooking or on a character in a TV show, or in this case by a country like Japan. Just whenever I feel inspired, I try and write something to do with that inspiration as soon as I get it, because that's when it's the most raw and authentic. So a lot of the time, I'm not around a piano when I have these ideas. I'm usually like on a walk or in my bed or something, so I can't immediately play it. So what I do is I have on my phone voice notes of me just humming melodies as soon as I get them. So I'll be walking and I'll be like, da, 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 da. And it won't really sound like much, but at least I've got that raw idea. And then whenever I get the chance to sit at the piano, I just try and translate that into music. And then whatever comes out, comes out.
But when you play, which track is it that's inspired by your mum's cooking, for example?
It's called Livestream.
Livestream, so that's the name of your EP and EP 1 and 2, isn't it? But when you're playing Livestream, does every time you play it live come out slightly different?
Yeah.
So it's always unique?
Yeah, it's always unique. Every performance that I do is unique, and I'll play it slightly differently, or I'll play certain passages differently, or I'll phrase it differently, but I play it depending on how I feel in that moment. And I'll never feel the same in any two given moments. No one will. It's impossible to always feel the same way. So it's influenced by the place that I'm playing it in, people that might be around me, even sometimes the food that I had just before, or if I've had a little bit to drink, or sometimes I like to get on stage with a glass of champagne down me, because I feel like that also lets me tackle and attack the music in a different way that I might not have attacked or approached before.
That feels a very Parisian thing to do. I can imagine it in a beautiful glass and nice and chilled. What was it about your mum's cooking that was inspiring you when you wrote that track?
Obviously, one of the first sensory experiences that I've had on this planet is eating my mum's food.
You'll be glad you're not my child, because I can't cook very well.
Yeah, it's like one of the first things that I would have done, and I remember eating and smelling and tasting my mum's food. Also, I see her cook a lot, and she puts so much thought and passion behind the food that she makes that it sort of inspired me in a way. Even though those two things on face value might seem like they're not related, I think there's a lot of similarities between cooking and making music. Ingredients that you're choosing to use are similar to the notes that you're choosing to use in music. And the way that you combine them is also the same way that you combine different notes. So I feel like there's a lot of similarities between the two, and I got really inspired by it, and I thought I'd write a piece of music about it.
And of course, each time you're cooking, it's a bit like each time you're playing a track. You can make a spaghetti bolognese, but no spaghetti bolognese is ever the same, because it depends how much of whatever you've put in. How do your parents feel about what you do? Are they terribly proud of watching how you've grown over these last few years with your music.
Yeah, they are. I think they're my biggest fans too. Whenever I post a new video in my social media, it's funny, I'll hear it being played back in the living room and it's my mum just refreshing my page all the time. But no, they're really proud of what I'm doing. I still remember the first time that I was still at university and I called my dad and I was like, hey, so I started posting these videos online and they seem to be working out quite well for me. And he didn't really quite understand it at the time. He was like, all right, well, what's that got to do with anything? And I was like, well, it's sort of become so big that I'm thinking of dropping out of uni. And he was like, and I actually did. I dropped out of uni in my final year when I had about 5 months to go. But I had so many opportunities with my social media and what I was doing that it just felt right to me to just go for it and send it in that moment and just dedicate my whole life and time to it. And I remember at the time they were very confused about it, but they're also very understanding. I'm very lucky to have parents like that. I was 21 at the time and they were like, well, it's up to you. If you feel like that's the right thing for you, then go for it. And they've been behind me ever since. So if they ever listen to this, which I'm sure they will, I just want to say thanks for believing in myself and letting me follow my gut and my heart. I'll always be grateful for them.
They sound incredible parents. It is a big thing to drop out of university and a big thing for your mum and dad to kind of take as well. If you were on a 4-year course and you'd done most of that 4-year course, what kind of opportunities provided that tipping point where you thought, actually, I've got to seize the day now because there is an opportunity here to make a living out of what I love doing? Yeah,
all of the people that I was reaching with my videos was a turning point for me because there's so many possibilities with technology nowadays that I just knew that I could turn it into something concrete and something real. And I just felt so free when I was playing the piano in public and posting videos compared to what I was feeling inside of me when I was sat in my lecture or sat in my university. I love art history. I find it so interesting. But ever since I started posting videos, when I was sat in those lectures, I could only just think about wanting to play the piano. So I think when I started feeling out of place at uni, I thought that's the moment where I should just stop because I didn't feel happy or at peace with myself. It felt right to me at the time and I'm glad I did because I've experienced so many wonderful things.
And it sounds like opportunities that obviously you've worked hard to get are coming up all the time. You've got some tour dates in LA coming up in October. Are things now just snowballing really in terms of how much in demand you are and what kind of opportunities there are out there for you?
Yeah, that's not something that I focus on too much. I just focus on creating the best music that I can. And I think everything else will fall into place. If my focus is on trying to get everything too quickly, then I'll stop focusing on what's really important, which is creating something that might inspire people and creating something that fills me with peace at the end of the day. And I think that if I focus on that, all the opportunities that are meant for me will present themselves.
I think you're so right about that. I'm guessing that you play every day and whenever you stroll past the piano,
that's not true, actually.
Is it not
that's
true?
Not true. There's some days where I don't play. I think it's also not good to do too much of something, whatever that thing is. It's not just with music, but I seem to get a lot of inspiration too when I'm actually living life.
And what do you like to do when you're not sitting at the piano?
A lot of things. I'm really into football.
Good timing. The World Cup started already.
Yeah, it has. It's great to see so many people gathered around football. I think that's the beauty of the World Cup is it brings people together. Kind of like music. I feel like everything's music.
Everything's linked to music. And who do you support?
France, obviously. Because that's where I'm from.
Probably a silly question.
France and Denmark, but unfortunately Denmark have not qualified this year.
And what do you think France's chances are this, are you optimistic?
Yeah.
They're very high.
We have a very strong squad on paper. I think we have the strongest squad on paper, but too much salt can ruin a dish. It's about how we utilize our players. But yeah, I'm optimistic and I'll be back in France watching a couple games. So
fantastic. Yeah. So football, but what else? I've got you in my head on beautiful walks in nature with your thoughts.
I run a lot and I bike a lot. And I also recently got back into chess.
Did you?
Yeah, my dad taught me chess when I was a kid and used to play with him at home and then never really thought about the game anymore. And then recently, I was walking in Paris actually and they had these outdoor chess tables.
That's a bit like having a piano in a station,
Yeah.
having an outdoor chessboard.
I seem to be gravitated towards public displays of activities. And so I just sat down and I started playing, and I just got hooked, and I got interested in it again, and I started actually studying it. So I'm reading chess books, and I'm not too bad at it, actually.
That doesn't surprise me. I think your mind probably works in quite an interesting fashion, hence the music, the way your mind operates that fits in quite well with the chess as well. But when you're out running, or in fact not even just running, who do you listen to music-wise? If you want to switch off and chill, who are your go-to artists?
My music taste is so random, but I'd say throughout my life, I think the artist that had the biggest impact on me, who's sadly not with us anymore, but is this DJ called Avicii. His music has had the biggest impact on me, and when he was at his peak was when I was around 14, 15, and then he passed away in 2017, I think it was. But his music had a really big impact on me, and I listened to his music all the time. Just the way he phrased his melodies, and he used to collaborate with a lot of different artists, and just the stories behind his songs and the lyrics would just hit really deep for me. So yeah, I'd say Avicii is like someone that I listen to a lot, but I also listen to a lot of Chopin.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, with the great composers, who are your favourites?
Yeah, Chopin, Debussy, Michael Jackson. I consider him a composer as well.
Well, you grew up listening to a lot of Michael Jackson, didn't you?
And I really like ABBA and the Beatles. But also there's this French rapper nowadays called Zamdan, who's also had a massive impact on me recently in the past 4 or 5 years.
Obviously, I'm an ABBA fan.
Yeah.
I don't know how you knew that, because when you came into the studio today, you spotted a piano and just sat down and said, do you like ABBA? I absolutely love ABBA. I mean, I had to resist singing along because I can't sing for toffee. But it's great that you've got such eclectic music taste. Was there a lot of music going on in your home when you were growing up?
Yeah, my dad used to play the piano. My mum doesn't do music.
She's too busy cooking.
Yeah. She tries to sing. As a collective, we politely ask her to stop.
You sound like my kids with me.
But no. My dad plays the piano.
Does he play well?
Yeah, he does. I think he's the reason why me and my older brother got into it. I have an older brother who plays as well. And he's probably one of the main reasons why we started playing in the first place. Because he was playing when we were growing up. And obviously as a kid, you try and imitate what your parents do. And I think we naturally just started sitting at the piano and just smashing the keys.
And didn't you stop for a while? I read that your brother played a big venue in Paris when you were about 9. And didn't that make you not do piano for a little while?
That's true. Yeah. So we both started around the same time. So he's a year and a half older than me. I must have been around 5 when I had my first piano lesson or something like that. I don't remember specifically. He would have been like 7. And he was always much better than me when we were starting off. And he had this performance in Salle Gaveau in Paris for this Yamaha Youth European performance where they gathered all the best youth musicians from Europe and had them play a concert for Yamaha. It was televised at the time and everything, and I was like, this is so crazy. But I felt like I was in my brother's shadow. And I didn't want to be in my brother's shadow, at that age you want to be different. So I stopped playing and I picked up guitar, and I played guitar for most of my life until I was 17 maybe. And then I picked piano up again. I feel like I always gravitated back towards the piano, probably because it was the first thing that I started playing, and that was my introduction to music. So I think that I always have a string attached to the piano, this invisible thing that connects me and the piano together.
And is it unusual to be able to just listen to a piece of music and then be able to sit down and play it? Is that quite an unusual skill to have?
Yeah, I'd say it's quite unusual.
Yeah.
Relative pitch and perfect pitch is something that you can learn, but you tend to be born with it.
So is that what you've got?
So very close to perfect pitch, but not quite. So basically the difference is relative pitch is, for example, if you play me any note on a piano, I'll be able to tell you what it is without looking, because those notes are notes that I'm familiar with, right? But people with perfect pitch, for example, everything makes a noise. So like when I tap this glass bottle, it makes a pitch. And people with perfect pitch will be able to tell you what that pitch is. But I can't do that because it's not relative to something that I'm familiar with. But the notes on the piano are. So I'd be able to recognize those, but that's the nuance between relative and perfect pitch.
So when you sit down and play and there's no music, you're not remembering, you've not learnt these pieces as such, have you? Are you playing from the heart and you just know those notes and what every note sounds like so well that you play?
Yeah. When I'm listening to a song I'm trying to learn, I'll start off with the melody in my head. And even then, just knowing the notes and the melody, you tend to know what the left hand is, because on the piano, the notes that you play in the melody tend to be the notes that you find in the chords. So depending on what the notes are in the melody, you sort of already know what would work and what wouldn't work in the left hand.
I do understand a bit because I grew up with my grandma and my two great aunties played by ear and sang. And so when I was a little girl, I just have these lovely memories of Christmases where they just sit down and play. And I was never able to do that. I was quite okay technically and had lessons and could pass a grade, but I never had any feel for it like you do. Let's talk a bit about the composing a bit more and live stream 1 and 2. You've just released a 5-track EP, haven't you? Can I pick out a couple of tracks and just ask you about them? SOS is one that really stands out to me and starts with sirens. That's on live stream 2. Is there a story behind SOS?
There is, yeah. I was in Paris again, having a little coffee with a friend of mine. We were sat on a terrace in a cafe and these police cars kept driving by, and the police siren in Paris makes a noise. It's like da 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 da, and it would happen like every 2 minutes. And I sort of sat with it for a bit and I started humming this melody in my head. And that's why there's a siren present at the start of the song, because we sampled a police siren. And then I've used those same notes, which are A and a D, and I turned it into a melody. So yeah, it was directly influenced by the police in Paris.
What about Runaway?
So Runaway, that was inspired by Kanye West's Runaway. So Kanye West has a song called Runaway, and he starts the song by playing the same note 15 times. He plays the E 15 times. Just da, da, da. And I really liked how he started that song. So the way that I start the song is the same thing. There's less E's. There's only 4 of them. I played those E's and then I just came up with a melody. It's not really that deep, that one. It's just, I started playing something and I just thought it sounded so nice that I had to finish it. I actually have the original voice memo if you want to hear it.
Do you?
Want to
Can
hear
you play it? Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I transpose into another key, so it's not the same key as the original. Actually, I'm going to play you the beginning of the original first.
Yeah.
So that the people that are listening have an idea of what the original sounds like. That's the original, and the idea that I had was this. You can sort of hear me trying to figure it out. Yeah.
It's really beautiful. There's an ethereal quality to your music. When I play it now, which I do regularly, it just transports me. And I can see when you play, and even when you're listening to that on your phone, you're transported too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Completely absorbed in the music.
Yeah, because those melodies are like a direct extension of myself. That's literally me externalized those melodies at what it looks like inside my soul. So whenever I hear them, I just stop. I just get transported.
You're such a beautiful spirit, and that comes across the first time you watch you perform or lucky enough to talk to you and meet you. When you say that you can hear a song and you can sit down and play it, does that apply to, like, Chopin, for example? Can you listen to a piece and do your version of... Because I've got a dusty Chopin book on the top of the piano. I found it very complicated and never quite mastered that.
Certain styles of music are harder to replicate than others. Classical music tends to be harder to replicate by ear. I'll be able to get the melody basically straight away, but there's a lot more intricacies in the harmonies that they used, like hip-hop songs and pop songs and even jazz songs. They follow a very predictable pattern that in classical music they don't do as much. So it's harder to replicate artists like Chopin.
They were amazing though, weren't they? The great masters. Amazing. Can you imagine living in Beethoven's lifetime or watching Mozart play? Or incredible. Are you kind of in awe of some of those greats?
I am. Most of them, they used to come up with these melodies when they were so young. Younger than I am now. They would have already had like 200 etudes and symphonies behind their belt. But just like me, they would have had so many things that they wanted to express and that they wanted to share with the world. And I'm not comparing myself with Chopin by no means, you know. But he would have had so many things that he would have experienced in his life and so many feelings that he would have wanted to express. It's just cool to think that that will go on forever. As long as human beings are breathing and are here, art will continue to be created. At the end of the day, I think art is the whole meaning behind life, you know. If there was no art in this world, we would just be on a rock. What would we be doing? We wouldn't be doing anything. Like
we wouldn't be doing anything.
Like what would actually be fueling our souls if we couldn't create anything?
And not everybody's able to make a career out of what they love doing, and things like music and acting and things like that are very difficult. So it's great that you've been able to do it, but also you're having an awful lot of fun with it as well. Tell me about your shoot in New York for your video.
Yes. So actually for Runaway, we shot a whole music video in the streets of New York. One of my friends, Chris, he has a piano that he pushes around New York. He's got wheels underneath it. And I reached out to him and I was like, I have this idea of shooting a music video in the streets of New York. Would I be able to use your piano? And to give a lot of credit to him, because he's had that piano for over 30 years. And he's never really taken it away from Manhattan.
Most people don't take their piano anywhere, do they?
And he let me, and we shot a music video, from the streets of Manhattan, Times Square to Brooklyn Bridge. That video is available on YouTube if you guys want to go check that out. Just put Runaway, Friqtao, you'll find it. But yeah, it was very surreal. Playing the piano in the middle of Times Square is something that I never thought I'd ever do. I mean, people recognized me when we were shooting it too, and it was funny. Get people shouting like, it's Friqtao, like, with that piano guy from TikTok. And I'll be like, it was funny.
What are your hopes and dreams now? You've managed to pack into the last few years more than some of us pack into a lifetime. What else is out there for you? What else do you want to do? Or is it continue what you're doing?
Yeah, honestly, I just want to keep creating and inspiring. And I don't know what that might look like in 5-10 years' time. But I know that I want to keep sharing my ideas and the melodies that I have in my head. A big dream of mine actually is also to write film scores. And that's something that I truly believe that I can do. And I think that my music can fit in so many different films. So I definitely want to be writing film scores. I also have a much bigger dream to open up my own piano schools around the world. Learning an instrument is not very accessible to many people. It tends to be something that's quite expensive in the first place. Lessons tend to be, between like, I don't know, 30 to 50 pound an hour if you want to get a teacher or something like that. So it's just not very affordable or accessible for people. But I want to create piano schools around the world, like say one in Paris, one in London, one in New York, one in Johannesburg, one in Tokyo. So it's like a Friqtao piano school. And what it is, it'll be like between 5 to 10 teachers that are enrolled in those establishments that work there. But people can just turn up to lessons and piano lectures say for like £20 a month, and then they can just turn up to the building whenever they want if they feel like playing. I don't know. That's just an idea that I had.
That's a great
I want to
idea.
sort of make it more accessible for people to learn an instrument.
I think that will definitely happen for you. I think just carry on doing what you're doing and all these things will happen because your love for this and passion and the way you're sharing things now will lead to these great opportunities just coming your way, I think. And it does need to be affordable. We were lucky we had a piano because we had one from my auntie, but you're right, lessons are expensive, and if somebody hasn't got a piano, things like that aren't very accessible.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing that you're doing. To end, is there a track that you can tell us the story behind that we can play out to? What's one of your favourite of your own compositions?
I'd say the one that is the most emotional song for me when I'm playing it is called Drop. So Drop is the last track of my first EP. So it's the last track of Livestream. And it's just about letting go of things. And that might be people or thoughts that you have. Because I feel like naturally we tend to hold on to a lot of negative things. We always replay maybe mistakes that we've done or certain things that we could have done differently, or we tend to keep a place for people that don't deserve a place in our hearts, whether that's, I don't know, an ex or whoever it might be. We tend to hold on to negative things for some reason. Or I do, at least. I don't know about you.
I think everybody does, and yes, I think
but
so.
The song Drop is about letting go of things that might not be good for your soul, and also about remembering things that have happened in your life and utilising those things for more positive. And it was also inspired by the loss of my grandparents. I didn't directly lose them, like it's not my fault, but they're not there anymore, so they're not present anymore. But instead of thinking about them in a negative way or being angry about the fact that they're not here anymore, I'm just going to create something through their energy.
Perhaps dropping or letting go of the sadness that they're not here anymore and hanging on and keeping the lovely memories if you're close to your grandparents. They sound like they must have been very special people, were they?
They were, but I also wasn't old enough to really know them that well because they passed away when I was 4 or 5. But I do remember them. The very first memories that I've had being alive were with them. We haven't really spent proper time together, but I wish they were here sometimes, listening to me play or just so we can just chat.
Get to know each other
But I feel like I do
chat.
talk to them, but through different ways.
And press through your music as well, and through your thoughts and your feelings. I don't think I'm supposed to have favourite podcast guests. We've interviewed more than 250 people on the Convex Conversation, all of them amazing people and inspiring, but you're a very special young person. And I just want to say a massive thank you for coming over from Paris to the studio in Notting Hill, for just sitting down and playing when you arrived. And that was just absolutely beautiful. And I wish you luck
again
with...
for having me.
Well, you're so welcome.
It was a pleasure for me too, to talk to you and talk about, I suppose, my life and my thoughts, and I had a really good time.
Oh, I'm glad you had a good time. You've been listening to Friqtao, a fantastic pianist and composer. And if you want to follow him, I've just realised that I've put it's at Friqtao, but I'm not sure that's right. Where do we follow you? It is right. At Friqtao.
Yeah.
Friqtao. He's everywhere. Download and subscribe to our series at convex.podbean.com or search The Convex Conversation on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to yours. I'll be back next week with former British diplomat Ian Proud, who spent 24 years at the heart of some of the world's biggest emergencies and national disasters. Join me then.